Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be taking a look at the mighty Godzilla as featured in the Legendary Pictures MonsterVerse. I'm pretty excited about the upcoming Godzilla King of Monsters, which is set to be released in a few months, partly because the previous films in the series, Kong Skull Island and Godzilla, got the creatures right, but mostly because we get to see Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan and King Ghidorah go head to head vying for supremacy on Earth. Now, I've received multiple requests to cover the creatures in the upcoming films, and since we've already covered the Mutos and Rodan, the King of the Skies, in videos I'll be leaving links to below, today we'll be exploring Godzilla, the Titanus Gojira, who first appeared in Legendary's Godzilla, based on the celebrated monster of the same name that first appeared in Ishiro Honda's 1954 classic, and the many films produced and distributed by Toho since. With that in mind, the legendary Godzilla is essentially a colossal apex predator hailing from the Permian period, where surface radiation levels were considerably higher, giving birth to his kind and numerous other kaiju. As this radiation declined, Godzilla retreated deeper underwater to feed on the planet's geothermal radiation, appearing only occasionally in sightings that would inspire the mythologies of several cultures. I think it's also important to note that his ability to survive deep underwater and hibernate for long periods of time also enabled him to survive various extinction events that wiped out numerous species off the face of the Earth. His existence would remain unknown to the world at large until 1943, when an American nuclear submarine unknowingly awakened him when it reached the lower depths of the ocean, drawing him to the surface in search of new sources of radiation. Godzilla would then attack and feed on numerous American and Soviet submarines in the South Pacific Ocean, leading each side to believe that the other was responsible for the attacks. As the truth began to emerge of Godzilla's existence and his potential threat to humanity as a whole, the American military began detonating a series of nuclear bombs in the Marshall Islands to try and kill him, under the guise of nuclear testing. This led to the final bombardment of the Kaiju on March the 1st of the same year, where Godzilla was lured onto the Micronesian island of Bikini Atoll prior to the detonation of the very first dry-fuel hydrogen bomb, codenamed Castle Bravo, in an attempt to kill him. Godzilla then vanished following the detonation, and a scientific organization named Monarch was then formed to study Godzilla and the other reports of titans across the world.
Miranda told me myth can be more than just stories handed down through the generations or words on a page. Myth can be a compass.
Standing at a height of 365 feet, stretching over 600 feet, and weighing over 90,000 tons, Godzilla is an overwhelming force to be reckoned with. As a titan of the old world, Godzilla has a number of unique abilities that set him apart from the other kaiju found on Earth, including energy absorption, his incredible strength and durability, as well as his trademark atomic breath. Legendary's monster also has gills and amphibious lungs, which, as mentioned earlier, allowed him to stay underwater indefinitely. Much like his previous incarnations, the legendary Godzilla possesses immense physical strength, and the massive kaiju was able to effectively use his mass as a weapon of destruction. In the film, he was seen tossing both the male and female Mutos around with ease by biting into their bodies, as well as pushing the female Muto backwards with his arms, and the strength of his tail was so great that it killed the male Muto with one carefully placed swing. While his strength was impressive, his durability was off the charts. I mean, not only did he survive numerous extinction level events, the threat of other predators, and nuclear bombardment, but one overlooked fact is that he survived time itself, having existed for over 250 million years. Given all of this, his symbiotic relationship with the planet, and his radioactive food source, I think it's likely that provided he isn't killed in battle, he could and would likely live until our sun went supernova. His ability to absorb radiation enabled the kaiju to survive for millions of years, and is believed to be the source of his power, and the very thing that has caused him to mutate into the perfect apex predator. A great example of this can be seen in the development of his gills during extinction events that made the surface uninhabitable for extended periods of time. His atomic breath is another mutation resulting from excessive geothermal radiation absorption, seen in the film as a focused, fiery-shaped energy beam that he was able to spew out. For his return to the big screen, the King of Monsters was given a new design and look to differentiate him from previous incarnations with the help of creature designers from the Weta Workshop that had worked on Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy and his 2005 adaptation of King Kong. Legendary's Godzilla has a square face and a broad neck with shark-like gills, making this the first Godzilla design to feature this. His eyes are small and golden, and his teeth are smaller and more unevenly lined compared to others seen in the Toho series. His dorsal plates are smaller than previous designs, but they still retain the core shape, though they were straighter and sharper, creating a more jagged look as he rose from the water. Godzilla's claws are black in colour and his feet are wider, resembling an elephant's foot. His skin is also more reptilian in shape, with the rough hide of crocodiles that was so durable that he was able to walk away from missiles, nuclear blasts, and confrontations with other kaiju, with only a few scratches to show for it. According to Andrew Baker, the chief creature designer on the films, the filmmakers had studied the faces of dogs, bears, and eagles in order to make Godzilla's face look noble and majestic, yet not too cute or threatening, a balance they were able to achieve successfully. In the films, Godzilla is portrayed through CGI and keyframe animation, with partial motion capture performances from TJ Storm. The incredible Andy Serkis, who is no stranger to CGI, having portrayed Gollum, King Kong, and Caesar, was also brought in as an advisor who helped make the creature movements look more realistic. When watching Legendary's Godzilla, I'm sure that many of you like myself felt a chill going down your spine when hearing Godzilla's roar, and this was no mere easy task to achieve. Since his roar in the Toho series is considered to be one of the most iconic sound effects in film history, the film's sound designers had a huge task of revamping this whilst creating something new. A whopping 6 months was spent experimenting with different techniques, including the use of microphones that could record sound that was inaudible to human ears. The team then recorded hundreds of these at a 192 kHz sample rate before slowing them down to an audible range where they stumbled on a combination that gave them goosebumps. In the film, Godzilla seems to have the behavioural characteristics of territorial animals found on Earth. But unlike wolves and primates that patrol specific areas in groups in search of either food or trespassers, Godzilla considered the entire planet to be his territory. Our introduction to Godzilla and others like him in the new film series came by way of William Randa, who was a cryptozoologist and a senior official at Monarch. In 1943, Randa was stationed aboard the USS Lawton, a nuclear submarine that was unfortunate enough to awaken and lure the monster into attacking it, leaving Randa as the sole survivor of the attack. Fueled by a desire to exact revenge, the sailor-turned-scientist spearheads the expedition to Skull Island in the early 1970s with the ulterior motive of causing havoc on the Titans. Resurfacing a number of times since its encounter with the USS Lawton to either feed or in response to direct nuclear attacks, Godzilla would remain in the shadows until 2014 when it detected a mating call of Mutos that had lived during his era. Emerging once more, but this time in search of the Mutos, Godzilla was still perceived to be the enemy, resulting in the military engaging both the Mutos and Godzilla. However, the king showed no malice towards the humans around him and merely continued to engage the parasitic lovers. In fact, when surrounded by numerous ships and aircraft carriers that followed him, the king simply ignored them or dove under them whenever they got in his way, choosing instead to hunt the Mutos down. Now, I think this happens for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the humans are quite tiny and relatively insignificant, and apart from a lucky shot that hit him in the gills, they pose no real threat to him. Secondly, the Mutos had likely been responsible for the destruction of his species, as was the case with Kong, making their destruction and the destruction of their offspring a major priority to ensure there was balance. I think it's also important to consider that the humans were also a part of the world that he protected, and by default, were under his protection. Throughout the film, he was also seen showing signs of higher thought, often adapting his strategies to fight the Mutos. A great example of this can be seen in his confrontation with the nimble male Muto that was able to use its speed and flight to avoid Godzilla's attacks, leading Godzilla to bait him into attacking before using his tail to swat him like a fly. While they both were able to beat down the massive kaiju using their own unique abilities and numbers, Godzilla ultimately got the better of them both, reasserting his dominance over the world as the King of Monsters. A title that is about to be challenged by the mighty three-headed King Ghidorah in the upcoming Godzilla King of Monsters. Well, that's all for today, folks. Big thanks to all of you guys who requested we take a closer look at Legendary's Godzilla. I just wanted to thank you guys for the continued love and support y'all have given me over the years. Many of you know that the past week has been one of the hardest in my life since letting go of my little Princess Leia, but the support I've received from family, friends, and my subscribers has been incredible. So I just wanted to thank you guys once again for everything. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click the notification icon to stay up to date on all my content. And if there's anything else you'd like to request, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.